Gen X was right, and John is doing exactly what they did. Same 4 habits, same discipline, same spreadsheet logic. Robert retired with $1.1 million. John is on track for $163,000. Same rules, 30 years apart, a $937,000 gap, and not $1 of it comes from John making worse decisions than Robert. This video is about why 4 financial habits that were completely correct in 1992 are producing a completely different result in 2026. And what John actually needs to do instead. Because the answer is not that Gen X was wrong. The answer is that the terrain changed underneath the map. Robert's 4 habits were simple. Habit 1, buy a house as early as possible. Robert bought in 1992 at 32. The house cost $105,000. His mortgage was $560 a month, 17% of his take-home pay. He built equity for 30 years, retired with the house, paid off, and worth $390,000. The habit was right. Buy early. Let appreciation and mortgage pay down do the work. Habit 2, drive old cars and avoid car debt. Robert drove a 1987 Honda Accord until 1999. Bought it used for $4,200. No monthly payment, no depreciation anxiety. When the Honda finally broke down, his coworkers expected him to walk into the dealership and finance something new. He bought a 1994 Camry for $5,800 cash instead. His coworkers didn't understand. His retirement account did. Habit 3, invest consistently in simple vehicles. 6% to his 401k from day one. Never timed the market, never picked individual stocks, just contributed every month and didn't touch it through 3 recessions. The habit was right. Consistent, boring, automatic investing beats everything else over 30 years. Habit 4, live below your means even when you don't have to. When Robert got a raise, he increased his 401k contribution before he saw the money. His lifestyle always ran slightly behind his income, never ahead of it. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the only number that builds wealth. 4 habits, all correct, all proven by 30 years of results. If this is your first time watching this channel, subscribe before the next episode. It drops Thursday and it goes deeper into exactly this gap. So why is John doing all 4 and losing ground? That's next. Let's run all 4 habits through 2026. Habit 1, buy a house as early as possible. John wants to. He's been trying since he was 34. The median home in his city costs $390,000. A 20% down payment is $78,000. At his savings rate after fixed expenses, he reaches it in 11 years. He'll be 49. The habit is still correct. The entry point moved so far that the habit became inaccessible. In 1992, a $40,000 salary could buy a $105,000 house. Price-to-income ratio, 2.6. In 2026, John earns $65,000 and faces a $390,000 home. Price-to-income ratio, 6. Robert was buying exactly where every financial advisor says you should. John would need to spend twice what any responsible lender recommends. Same habit. A completely different barrier. Habit 2, drive old cars and avoid car debt. This one John can still do, and it's the one most millennials get wrong. The average American millennial spends $580 a month on a car payment in 2026. That's $6,960 a year, leaving the balance sheet with zero return. Robert's 1994 Camry is a 2013 Toyota Camry in 2026, available on any used car lot for under $12,000. Reliable, paid in cash, no monthly payment. The social pressure to drive something newer is real. Nobody's Instagram in 1992 was showing them their new lease payment disguised as a lifestyle, but the habit hasn't changed. The math is identical. This one John can run exactly as Robert did, and the ones who do are already $6,960 a year ahead of the ones who don't. Habit 3. Invest consistently in simple vehicles. Robert contributed 6% to a 401k, charged 1.5% in annual fees. He didn't know about the fees. Nobody told him. John contributes to a Roth IRA with a total market index fund charging 0.03%. Better tools, lower costs, more information than Robert had at the same age. The habit is the same. The tools are better. The problem is the amount. Robert had $800 a month left after every fixed expense. That $800 invested at 8% for 28 years becomes $1,089,000. John has $180 a month left after fixed expenses, not because he's spending more on restaurants or vacations, because his fixed costs, rent, student loans, health insurance, are $620 a month higher than Robert's were, driven entirely by 30 years of structural inflation in 3 categories. $180 a month at 8% for 30 years, $218,000. Same habit, 1/5 of the result. Habit 4, live below your means. Robert's means at 32 left him $800 a month to invest. Living below that meant putting $800 away and spending the rest comfortably. John's means leave him $180 a month. Living below that means investing $180 and having nothing left for anything unexpected. There is no lifestyle to cut below. The structural cost consumed the surplus before John made a single discretionary decision. The habit is correct. The math doesn't leave room to run it. Here is the honest summary. 2 of Robert's 4 habits transferred completely to 2026. Avoid car debt. Invest consistently in low-cost vehicles. 1 transferred but became nearly impossible to execute at median income. Buy a house early. 1 became structurally inaccessible without a different approach. Build a meaningful monthly surplus through expense control alone. Gen X was right about the principles. The economic terrain changed under the principles. And understanding that distinction is the difference between John spending the next decade blaming himself for a structural problem and John spending the next decade solving the actual problem. 2 habits transfer. 2 need a 2026 version. That's next. And the 4th one is the one that changes everything. So what does John actually do? Not the advice that worked for Robert. The version of that advice that works for the terrain that actually exists in 2026. On the car, nothing changes. Drive it until the wheels fall off. The millennial man who chooses a paid-off 2013 Camry over a $580 monthly lease is making Robert's exact decision with Robert's exact logic. This habit still works. The math is still the same. The only thing required is resisting a social pressure Robert never faced. On investing, the tools are better than they've ever been. Robert paid $1,500 a year in fund fees on every $100,000. John pays $30. That difference, compounded over 40 years, is worth $390,000 in additional retirement wealth that Robert never had access to. John has structurally better investing tools than Robert ever did. The problem is not the tool, it's the amount going into it. On the surplus, this requires a different mechanism. Robert built his surplus by controlling expenses. John has to build his by expanding income. A deliberate second income stream of $300 to $500 a month, directed entirely toward investing before it touches a checking account, is the functional equivalent of Robert's $800 monthly surplus. Different mechanism, same mathematical result. $400 a month invested from age 38 to 65 at 8%. Approximately $420,000 added to John's retirement projection. That single change moves John from $218,000 to over $600,000 at retirement. On the house, the principle doesn't change, the road does. Build equity instead of paying rent forever. The principle is still correct. But geographic arbitrage, house hacking, or co-purchasing in markets where the price-to-income ratio is still under 4 are the 2026 version of what Robert did in 1992. The destination is the same. The route is different. Gen X was right about money. The 4 habits they built their wealth on are not wrong, not outdated, not the advice of a generation that got lucky and confused it with wisdom. They are correct principles that worked inside an economic structure that made them executable. John isn't failing to follow those principles. He's running them in a world that made 2 of the 4 significantly harder and 1 nearly impossible at median income without a different approach. The answer is not to abandon the principles. The answer is to find the 2026 version of each one and run that instead. Robert didn't invent good financial habits. He inherited a world where good habits had room to work. John has to build that room himself. If you're Gen X and you've been telling younger men to just do what you did, drop right in the comments. If you're a millennial doing everything right and still losing ground, drop terrain below. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Gen X was right. The terrain just changed.